fictionforadults.com.
Chapter 1. 19 years later. The solitude of the Texas campground hadn't dimmed Maggie's anxiety like she'd hoped, but the 5 beers sure as hell did. She might even be drunk enough to pee in one of the nasty outhouses. She chugged her beer and set the can between the ribs running along the bottom of the canoe. Grabbing another from the cooler, she shifted her weight, rocking the boat. Tilly sat across from Maggie, reading a paperback. She set her book down and tilted her oversized sun hat until it cast a shadow over her pale legs.
I think you've had enough. I'm just getting started.
She glanced over her shoulder at the bow of the canoe where she'd stowed her gun. The .38 snub-nosed revolver made for a lightweight and easily concealable weapon. Or at least, that was what her older brother had said the day he taught her how to use it. She braced her palms and leaned backwards, stretching her body, hoping her emerald bikini hid little from the last of the day's sunshine. Tilly lifted her chin, gesturing toward the embankment.
I've seen him somewhere, but I can't place him.
A tall man stood on shore. He wore black hiking boots and faded jeans. A navy blue t-shirt stretched smooth over a well-muscled chest. Maggie turned to get a better view. The bow dipped. Water seeped into the canoe.
You know him?
Tilly shrugged.
Maybe I've seen him at Chase Industries.
Maggie snickered.
He doesn't strike me as the computer geek type.
When Maggie planned this getaway, staying drunk was the only task on the itinerary, not getting laid. The 5 beers she had drank must have warped her already demented mind. She needed a distraction, and she needed to feel good. And he looked like he could make her feel great. Tilly covered her mouth and gasped.
That's no rifle he's holding.
Maggie's head spun. She gripped the seat, trying to steady herself, but lost her balance. Her body swayed. The trees surrounding the lake blurred in a drunken haze. The canoe tilted and Maggie's grip slipped. Head first, she toppled into the lake. Darkness surrounded her. She flailed and kicked, but where was the surface? Had she swam up or down? Her lungs tightened, begging for air. The pounding of her heart rang in her ears. She was going to die. Closing her eyes, she inhaled. Warm lips pressed against her mouth. Maggie opened her eyes. A man was knelt beside her. Water dripped from his short black hair and bare chest. His jeans were soaked. A gold ring dangled from a thick chain circling his neck. A pungent flavor of spoiled fish lingered on her tongue. Bile rose in her throat. A string of saliva trailed from her bottom lip. With the back of her hand, she wiped her mouth. Tilly stood beside him, her drenched blouse plastered to her petite frame.
Is she gonna be okay?
Anybody ever tell you that boating and drinking is a good way to get yourself killed? Maggie propped herself on her forearms and glanced across the water. The canoe floated upside down, surrounded by cans and flotation cushions. Fog clouded her vision and her head spun. She palmed her forehead. Maggie rolled to the side and patted the ground, scouring the pine needles and dried leaves. Where's my gun? As the man's arm circled her waist, she scented bourbon on his breath. He scooped her up, one arm under her legs and the other under her back. An enormous stranger had her cradled like they were longtime lovers. His lips curled into a crooked smile, a smile any sane girl would find terrifying, but she found mildly disturbing, and at the same time, sexy as hell. He turned from the water's edge and traipsed along a worn path through the woods.
We appreciate your help,
Tilly followed closely.
but I can take it from here.
They came to an empty campsite. He set Maggie down at a picnic table and glanced at Tilly. Take her to the hospital, just to be sure. He turned back toward Maggie. Black, empty, doll-like eyes drilled into her. A smirk formed on his unshaven face. He ran a hand through his unkempt hair before turning and disappearing the way they'd come. Tilly knelt before Maggie and brushed a damp strand from Maggie's cheek.
You scared the crap out of me. Are you sure you're okay? Is he coming back? Let's put some distance between us and him, and if you're up to it, we'll head back to your cabin. You go,
Maggie said.
I'll catch up to you.
She stood and staggered toward the greenery where the mysterious stranger had disappeared. Tilly gently grasped both Maggie's arms and forced her to sit back down.
No way. What? Are you insane? Tell me you're not thinking of betting that man. No, I plan on fucking him.
Again she stood, but Tilly pushed her back down.
You've done some stupid stuff, but this is over the top, even for you.
Maggie scowled.
What's your problem? My problem? I'll tell you what my problem is.
Tilly's voice pitched and Maggie resisted rolling her eyes.
That man is not to be trusted. How about a little common sense? He looked as if he was ready to kill somebody.
Maggie sighed.
I think you're overreacting just a bit. And as usual, you're underreacting. The guy's huge, like Guinness Book huge, and there's something else. I thought you said you knew him. I said he looked familiar. Big difference. I could have seen him at the grocery store, in a restaurant, or on America's Most Wanted.
Maggie pressed her lips together in a tight smile.
Well, he's probably long gone now anyway.
Tilly's hands went to her hips. She scowled.
Before the canoe capsized, I saw him.
The man strode from the woods toward them. When he looked at her, Maggie almost detected a smile. His olive skin, sculpted jawline, and 6 o'clock shadow gave him a rugged, bad boy look. And bad boys were her weakness. A shirt covered his chest. He held hiking boots and a Glock, not her revolver. Maggie sighed in disappointment. He inclined his head at Tilly. Get her to a hospital. Maggie watched him walk toward the road, a wide dirt path that connected all the campsites.
Hey!
He stopped walking but never turned, keeping his back to her.
I'm Maggie.
Shaking his head, he continued walking. Strange. Most men would have made small talk or flirted. Maybe he was gay. At the end of the site, a lanky man ran toward her mammoth of a rescuer. His blonde hair stretched halfway down his back. Cam! Fuck! Her rescuer ran back and placed the gun in her palm, grip first. I don't know you. You don't know me. We never met.
Hey guys, check us out on fictionforadults.com. Thanks.